Hello YouTube. Yonaguni-Jima is one of the Yama Islands and the westernmost inhabited island of Okinawa. It is near the southern tip of Japan's Ryukyu archipelago. The dynamic ocean around Yonaguni Island is extremely unique. You can see a huge school of hammerhead sharks, but you can also see the mysterious underwater ruins in this ocean, which have been attracting the divers from all over the world. And what's interesting, according to the obscure Russian report that I read in June of 2022, there have been other creatures recently sighted in those waters. You need to understand the island's location and its geopolitical importance. And then we will look at the ancient underwater ruins and also the Russian information. Please understand, all this can somehow be tied together. The island lies just like 110 kilometers off the coast of Taiwan. The island that Beijing also claims as its own, and there is fear among the Yonaguni-Jima's island dwellers that rising tensions could upset their peaceful community, especially if Beijing tries to restrict access to fishing grounds crucial to the fishermen's livelihood. Although Yonaguni was returned to the Japanese in 1972, its location also puts it on the front lines of tensions between Japan and China. Tensions between China and Japan rise over the dispute regarding the Senkaku or Diaoyu Islands. See, the island Yonaguni has been undergoing transition from a quiet place to a strategically important defensive outpost of Japan. Occupied by the United States during World War II, Yonaguni was returned to the Japanese as part of the Okinawa Prefecture, the 150 island band that curves south of Japan's main islands in the East China Sea. Chinese ships patrol the sea around the Japanese-controlled Senkaku Islands, a chain of uninhabited islands also claimed by the People's Republic of China, Taiwan, and China asserts that the islands are an inherent part of the Chinese territory, stating that its claims to the isles go back hundreds of years. So this kind of gives you the picture of what's going on around there, and possible tensions could be military as well. So now that we know the tensions on the surface, let's dive underwater. The Yonaguni Monument, also called Yonaguni Island Submarine Ruins, is an underwater rock formation south of the Japanese Ryukyu Islands. A number of scientists claim that the rock structures are stepped monoliths made by humans and that they have existed for more than 10,000 years. It certainly looks more man-made rather than natural, but actually no official research or preservation efforts have been conducted on that site. At the depth of 25 meters off the coast of the island of Yonaguni, there are those mysterious underwater pyramids and the remains of an ancient city, presently known as the submerged Yonaguni Monument. Even though the monument is located close to the shore and it's a shallow dive between 4.5 to 12 meters, sometimes the area is subject to strong currents, so divers have to be careful. The unusual structures were discovered by a local diver. They resemble an architectural complex, including pyramids, allegedly similar to the Inca pyramids, some say, flat terraces and massive steps. So let me tell you how it was done. Kihachiro Arataki was the first person to discover the underwater monument at Yonaguni in the year of 1986, and has devoted a lifetime to studying it and working with the researchers from around the world to try and unlock the mystery surrounding its origins. Born and raised on the island, there is probably no one better placed to introduce visitors to the history and wildlife of this unique island. And his son is with him, by the way. The dive site is now known in Japanese as Kaitei Iseki, the monument on the bottom of the sea. In the 1980s, Yonaguni was already a popular scuba diving destination for Japanese divers to see schooling hammerhead sharks. Kihachiro Aratake's Scuba Diving Center, SUWES, is based in Sonai on the North Shore, if you want to go there. So what did he discover? Rising up from the seabed 24-25 meters beneath the surface, the enormous structure stretches upward for about altogether in English measure 60 feet, stopping at the depth of just a little more than 5 meters. Yes, the highest point of the monument is only 5 meters below the sea level. Rather than the rounded lines that one often finds underwater, the structure features crisp 90 degrees angles, areas that appear to have been carved out to act as steps, and even huge towers 20 feet tall, which are perfectly aligned with one another. What's interesting is one feature that is extremely interesting is the 5-meter deep tide hole or Taida hole, a sacred well associated with the sun's rising and setting. Such holes are commonly found at fortresses and sacred sites all over Japan. A wide arch and a massive shape that appears to be an oversized carving of a loggerhead turtle lend even more weight to the idea that the monument is man-made or man-enhanced, and artifacts found at the scene suggest that there really is something to the theory. Professor Masaaki Kimura, a marine seismologist of Okinawa's University at the Ryukyus, has discovered a stone tablet, ancient tools, and what appear to be post holes on the site. Once skeptical himself, the professor is actually convinced now that the Yonaguni Monument is more than just the creation of nature. We will look at his ideas a little later. Topside, the island exhibits ancient tombs and monoliths, inscribed with characters so archaic that modern Japanese translators cannot decipher them. As you can understand, legends and mysteries abound. The underwater city quickly became a sensation, but even after various studies and investigations, researchers have not reached a consensus on the origin of the underwater structure. According to some, they were formed naturally and were additionally shaped by ancient people. Others are convinced that the monument is entirely the work of human hands. The number of hypotheses, I don't want to keep saying theories, I think hypothesis is a better word, about the Yonaguni Monument is endless if you look on the internet. Yet those who are and those who call themselves experts disagree about the origin of the pyramid and the surrounding ruins. However, there is a general agreement about the site's age, and it's estimated to be between 10,000 and 16,000 years old, which would make it the oldest human-made ruins in the world, if it is ever confirmed by more concrete evidence. Some experts believe that it is a natural formation. Some reject the hypothesis outright. And apart from the famous pyramid, there are ruins of roads, walls, and columns. It is very doubtful to me that the ruins of the Yonaguni Monument can be natural. The addition of pillars, platforms, roads, and columns and walls are basically sufficient evidence for human interference. Who and how made it, well, likely will remain a mystery that we may never solve. The Yonaguni Monument was obviously not submerged when it was created. If the monument is indeed man-made or modified by man, then it would date back to the last ice age, again around 10,000 years BC, when the sea level was 40 meters lower than it is now, and Yonaguni-Jima was a part of a land bridge connecting Japan, Taiwan, and the Chinese mainland. This would make the monument the oldest man-made artifact on Earth, significantly predating the pyramids in Egypt. If we assume that the site originates from about this 10,000 years, this would mean that it was entirely above the sea level. Again, at that time, the world's ocean level was 50 meters lower than it is now. The larger structure on the monument looks like a stepped pyramid. The Japanese professor that I referred to before, named Masaaki Kimura, has spent the past 2 decades measuring and mapping the Yonaguni Monument. Masaaki Kimura, a marine geologist at the University of the Ryukyus, has been studying the object for many years and is convinced that this site was carved thousands of years ago, again when it was still above water. Precise angles and triangle carvings are unlikely to have a natural origin. He believes that the structure could be the remains of the lost continent of Mu, the Japanese Atlantis. However, other scientists don't agree and insist that geology and strong currents are responsible for the unusual shape of the rock. Well, again, Masaaki Kimura believes that the largest structure is a stepped pyramid. The size of its base is almost the same as the area of the Pyramid of Cheops, and its height is about 30 meters. Kimura's team found what they believe to be stone tools and artifacts that would have been used for farming, according to experts. There are also tablets where they would have found engraved symbols and figures of animals, but the nearly vertical walls from 25 meters to almost the surface of the sea are the most baffling. The report says a natural explanation would require that the same force would have been equally applied all along, but the distribution of natural forces dramatically varies from the depths to the surface. They checked at the bottom of rocks that would have fallen from the natural erosion, but they found nothing. They also found evidence, including a drainage system, a loop road, a retaining wall, a drinking water pool, holes for pillars, a carved face that would look like a moai of Easter Island, and a flat, sharp, carved rock looking like a turtle from above. Those who watch my videos and read my books, they know that I have investigated the so-called Lake Baikal humanoids since the early 1990s. More than once my research has been borrowed, so to say, by various entities, but my book, co-written with Phil Mantle, Russia's USO Secrets, has the story of the event and my investigation. And of course my research continues. And you look at the playlist in the description to this video. So I was amazed reading in an obscure Russian site about a recent event that happened in the immediate vicinity of that Japanese island. According to the source, Tomori Akino is a local explorer and a diver. And here is what is claimed. Perhaps he is the record holder among people for the duration of his stay among the structures of Yonaguni. For the last 12 years, this Japanese man has been diving and sketching underwater objects almost every day. In 2021, during another dive underwater, the man encountered 2 humanoids in tight silver suits. They were definitely not people, the researcher assures us. The fact is that their arms and legs were disproportionately long, and there was a kind of crown on their heads, a silvery structure stretched from the mouth and nose to the back of the head, and then connected with 2 tubes to a small rectangular box located on the right hip. The man tried to follow them and observe, but one of the creatures took a small object out of his pocket, and the water around them became cloudy. It felt like the water turned into milk. After a few seconds, everything dissolved, but the mysterious creatures were nowhere to be found. Tomori Akino, amazed by what he saw, told his fellow divers about this encounter. It turned out that he was not the only one who observed humanoid creatures in silver suits near Yonaguni. The collective trip to the local ufologists did not end with any specifics. Cases of encounters were documented, but it was impossible to create a single picture. At the moment, Tomori Akino and colleagues have installed several camera traps among the buildings or structures of Yonaguni. Perhaps the Japanese will be able to photograph or videotape these creatures. As for working hypothesis, there are several assumptions. Perhaps they are representatives, those creatures, of an underwater civilization that built the Yonaguni complex thousands of years ago. Now it looks abandoned, and the two creatures that got lost there could be a reconnaissance group and were looking for something. Who they are is also an open question. Underwater humanoids or aliens? Well, it's too early to say anything. Now, do I believe this Russian account? I do not as yet, and maybe will not at all if I find no confirmation. You see, the name of the diver, it doesn't sound to me genuinely Japanese. And I have not read any other accounts of the incident. But I'm curious, what is the purpose of disseminating this story? So let me continue collecting information about this case and see if there's any supporting evidence. But remember, I keep referring in my other videos to a video I made about 5 years ago about the island of Rashua in the coral chain and the strange underwater ruins that had been sighted by the Soviets a long time ago, and that island is right next to the mysterious Motua, and it's not that far away. So who knows? Now, for those who are interested in diving by that island, look, for those experienced enough and interested in diving, I collected the following information. You have to confirm it yourself. The top two popular dive sites on the island are Irizaki and the underwater ruins. Irizaki is at the western point of the island, and it is popular for the high possibility of encountering hammerhead sharks and large pelagic fish. Underwater ruins is in the south area. Therefore, you can dive here even during the winter season, while other dive sites are closed due to the north wind. If you are willing to dive at these two dive sites, experienced divers recommend that you visit Yonaguni Island from December to May. The skill level, it should be from intermediate up. They say the maximum depth is 17 meters. Currents are sometimes strong, and the distance is about 20 minutes from the Kimura port. Now, at the underwater ruins, look, we know that it's the enormous underwater monument, which is said to be remains of an ancient city. Some of it rock formations, such as main terrace, entrance, and the turtle, look to be man-made, but the truth is, it's still a mystery. There are so many interesting sites here that you will not be able to see them all in just one dive. At the dive site of the Yonaguni Mountain is about 100 meters offshore from Arakavabana Cape. It's on the south coast of Yonaguni Island, halfway between the Tategami Rock and Higawa settlement. Scuba diving boats leave from Irizaki Harbor, nicknamed Shark Dock, in Kubura on the western tip of the island. Again, it takes about 20 minutes by boat to approach the dive site from here. Boat entry drift diving is the main diving style here, and highlights include exploring megalithic ruins and encountering hammerhead sharks. Diving here gives you a feeling of calm, with the white sands seeming to extend endlessly beneath you. Marine life often sighted here includes sea goldie and blue-striped snapper, and perhaps underwater humanoids. So let's hope there will be no hostilities in the surrounding waters, and that serious research of the monument takes place, and that we find out if human beings are the only ones interested in the underwater monument. It's a very interesting place, and I'll try to bring you more interesting stories about it, as well as other places in the Far East. If you like my research, please support it. You will find out how to do it in the description to this video. And I ask you to excuse my voice. I'm getting over COVID, and I don't want to sit idly by. I do want to record videos. Please like my channel and my videos. Please subscribe and tell others. Thank you.